Hello, this is Dr. Susan Gitau coming to you on English version, breaking free from family of origin curses. And so my big question is, your family of origin tree, is it a curse or is it a blessing? I have given my first language or mother tongue version of breaking free from family of origin curses. And here I am coming back, speaking to you in English, a language that is universal, that we can all understand, talking about our family of origin. Do you know your family tree? Have you ever drawn your family tree? The first time I drew my family tree, because I didn't know about it, was in the year 2005, and I was doing a course in marriage and family therapy. And let me tell you, what was revealed to me was a shocker. I got shocked. When I say I did, because I discovered patterns that had never been to my awareness. I have never ever known they existed, yet they did in my life. When we draw our family tree, and if you can, probably taking care of up to the fourth generation. For the Christians, we also talk about the biblical curses that can go all the way to the fourth generation. And from a psychological point of view, we look at the multi-generational processes. Those transmissions, whether they are habits, they are thoughts, they are feelings or emotions that can be passed on from one generation to another. And so at the end of the day, I ask you, viewer and my good follower, have you ever drawn your family tree? So you can check maybe your great-grandfather, your grandfather, your parents, up to where you are. Or you can check your great-grandmother, your grandmother, your parents, and you. And if you are having children, you can even look at your children and ask, have they also repeated some of the patterns that were seen in my own parents? So when we do our family tree and we can go the way to the fourth, maybe generation, we can look at patterns in the family, cutting across. And if you're married, or even if you're a child, you can check the side of your mother, the side of your dad. And you can ask yourself, are there certain behaviors or common traits or patterns or occurrences or events that are so familiar in this generation, come this other generation, all the way to where you are? And I have said, if you have children, observe your children. Such patterns may include people who have very high anger outbursts, and you trace them back from very far away. We do have people also that are addictive in nature. They can be addictive to many things, but mostly that we in Africa have seen and dread is addiction to alcoholism and substances of abuse. We do have situations whereby you may find that this family is marred with violence, that these people are quite violent. And so when we mention cases of sexual and gender-based violence, you will find across this family tree. We can have cases of maybe taking other people's property. Let me just call it stealing and robbery. Sometimes robbery with violence. And you can find this is a pattern that cuts across many generations. You may find also a family that has people who very, very hardworking, enterprise, very good in entrepreneurial engagements. You can find a family of preachers, pastors, a family of teachers, a family of farmers, a family of leaders, And when you look at these families, if you study them, the family members, and observe them, you will basically realize that they have common traits, common behaviors, common way of communication, responding, and that cuts across. And so it's not all bad. There can be a lot of good things in our family trees. But what is good, rarely do we complain about it. We are happy. But what is not good or keeps disturbing us or it makes us think, or like in Africa we say, oh, I was bewitched. This happened to me because maybe somebody talked ill about me. But maybe today you want to unravel that mystery and look at those patterns from a very objective, I would still say spiritual, so that you can go inward of yourself, get inside, break free from the inside out. Because certain things that probably today you showcase that have brought you problems, you may pick that they run deep, and those multi-generational processes that are transmitted from one generation to the next, we must be very, very deliberate to break free from them. You may find in some families all children are male or female. Just like we find in most families, you cannot just get twins. There must be a family somewhere, or the chain doesn't even get broken, that this is a family that gets twins. You may also find families that whether they like it, they try in all ways, they basically experience divorce and very high divorce rates, or separation, or abandonment, or rejection, just name it. So at this moment, I'll just ask you to spend a moment of silence wherever you are, or even plan to take time out so that you can think and rethink. If you keep quiet like this, you can ask yourself, what disturbs you most in your current life? If you have a family, in your current family. If I could take my own case, I guess what disturbs me most is the addictive behavior to alcohol and drugs of abuse, and where I see people in my family of origin, may it be the one that is nuclear or extended, they justify their use or even their abuse of alcohol and drug abuse. And why it breaks my heart, maybe if you're watching me and you're like me, that's a major negative pattern that you have observed in your family. To me, I say it's a very big signature of poverty, because there's no good planning you can do when you abuse alcohol or drugs. Because every coin you get, what you think of is the next dose you are going to purchase. It's the next bottle that you're going to purchase. And you don't live, in most cases, with a clear plan of financial progress, social progress, family progress, health progress, because this alcohol or this drug of choice is the one that rules your life. And so at the end of the day, you are hooked to your own boss, who is that alcohol or that drug of abuse. And the most unfortunate thing is that you will hear stories that my great-grandfather, my grandfather, maybe my father, maybe my mother, and now you are abusing that alcohol or that drug of abuse. But it has never hit you that it is a multi-generational pattern. It's a family tree issue. It's a family tree stronghold that if it doesn't get to you, it might get to your children. And so if you're watching me and listening to me, kindly ask yourself again, do I see all the patterns very clearly? Do I know them? Some are very sensitive to share. Some are very private to share. But they are there. Like there are many people we have considered that they could be barren, they could be infertile. But maybe they have been having spontaneous miscarriages, or what we call spontaneous abortions. The children cannot hold in their wombs. They are men also. Maybe we basically know them as men who cannot sire many children. But maybe it has never hit you to go through your family tree. There are people that are known in their families. They cannot even mention people who are academic giants. There are people who can't stand and say, oh, we own property, oh, we've employed people. And it's not about education, because we have seen people who are not very educated, but they are rich, they are wealthy, they have investments. There are situations that we can hear, oh, these ones must be married, maybe by this kind of a family, that kind of a family, because they cannot fit in this one. In Africa, we're very good at that. Some people are just seen in certain careers that cut across. That doesn't mean other people cannot change their career path. So the big question is, how do I break away from family curses or family of origin, multi-generational processes? Because the blessings, I said, we invite them. One is to know that this pattern exists. Second is to relate how that pattern affects you. For example, given my case, if you are not drinking, you're not using alcohol, and you do not know how to differentiate yourself, you become a codependent. And codependence is even serious. It's more serious than someone who is abusing that drug or that alcohol. Because your mind keeps thinking about them, keeps thinking about their welfare, keeps thinking about how they're doing. And you may also be caught up in that web. You may be caught up there, thinking about them. You're enmeshed, you're entangled in there. And I'm sure if you're watching me and you have struggled in your family, extended or nuclear, with alcohol and issues of substance and drug abuse, you have picked the codependency. You are entangled, enmeshed in the problems of these dear ones in your life. You're safer if you know and accept you are entangled and enmeshed. You are unsafe and very unhappy, in distress, if you actually don't know. Like when I get mothers who tell me, I am so distressed because of my son or my daughter. They are drinking. They can't do school. They can't do work well. They have been recommended to go to rehab. Yet, when I listen to them, and especially in therapy, I don't hear them telling me stories about anyone they know in the family, current or in the past, that had similar cases until I ask. And when they're telling you these stories again, it's not like they are even in touch with the fact that they may not be abusing, they may not be using this alcohol, they may not be using this substance. However, they are behaving like they are also drunk because they are so much in the lives of these significant others. They are basically enmeshed. The pattern has also caught up with them. Where does that leave you? We said identify, observe, accept it exists. The other thing is that make sure you know how this affects you. How does it relate with you and your life and your situation? And if you have children and your children. And then third, you must get full commitment to be differentiated in a very loving and non-selfish or selfless way, because there are people we've seen, they cut themselves off completely. And some can even say, oh, I'm born again, the Lord has spoken to me. Others can say, I will no longer belong to this. Some even give sacrifices so that they can run away from the reality and the responsibility of trying to set every other person free without getting entangled and enmeshed. And so it's very key to ask yourself, even if I want to break away, I want to break off, is this going to bring family disunity? Is it going to bring hatred? Is it going to break us apart? Is it going to leave some people worse than they were before I broke off? And so you must do a very good critical analysis of how you want to break away. Or in our marriage and family language, we talk about how you want to be differentiated. You must have a very good, clear plan that weighs on the pros and cons of wanting to break free. Because maybe some of the patterns have introduced other behaviors and dynamics that require your compassion, require your kindness to help people break off those chains of family curses, multi-generational curses. Because maybe some of them, they need to be brought to the level of awareness that you are in. And if you're not there, tell me who's going to bring that awareness to them. It's going to be you. And so once you have a very clear plan of how you want to break off or to let go of those chains, that prison of being held in those very enslaving, imprisoning chains of multi-generational processes, then you can start the journey of breaking free. And there are many ways. One is to do the journal. Remember, you've done the family tree. When you journal, we are imagining and assuming you had known these patterns. And so there are those patterns that are very beautiful. Like when I look at my family of origin, the extended, even if I'm talking about alcohol and drug abuse, we have this social life that really brings us together. I just love the way we don't like meddling in other people's businesses, and that can make you go inward and really develop yourself. I love the way we love peace as a family, an extended family, such that even when there are feuds that can make you think of going to court, we quickly like say there are better ways. And so we have found ourselves making very good mediators and many other blessings that they actually supersede what we can see is negative, though probably the negative strikes so hard, it becomes very hard or very impossible to see the blessing. And so it's very critical to do the journal. Like every day we want to break this pattern, especially people with anger outbursts in the family. They have caused mercy. Some have killed. Some have vandalized facilities and properties. Some have let go very good businesses. Some have actually caused serious accidents because of that anger. You can say this one, I want to start working on it. And so every day when I'm doing a journal, I'm tracking my anger outbursts. I'm tracking the effects. I'm tracking the feelings. I'm tracking my behavior. If it is the alcohol and drug abuse, if it is beyond you to walk alone with yourself, that's when you accept, I want to check in into a rehab. There are situations you might feel they are just woundedness. They are emotional burdens you have carried for a long, long time, and you can decide it's time to see a counselor. There are also situations that you say, I think I want to learn more. I think I want to learn more about me, about my family, about everything else about us. That's when you look for a family member, mostly the senior members in that family, the elderly in the family, and they're always very willing to share with you stories that can make you understand what could be going on. I'm very happy because my uncle, who is 90 years old, my mom's surviving firstborn brother who is still alive. My mom is late. We've been talking quite a lot, and I'm feeling like I have more freedom, sharing and learning a lot with my uncle. He's such a lively guy, full of energy and positivity, even surviving a surgery at 90 years old. It's no small blessing. It's a big blessing worthy of giving thanks. And so I learn a lot every day. And when I also meet, I have aunties also who are very senior. You can imagine I'm almost clocking 50, but I have aunties who are almost the age of my uncle. And they tell you stories. They tell you stories. Stories that make you understand your roots, even if you grew up in an environment where it was very difficult to interact with the older generation or the seniors in the family or in the clan, where you could have gotten to understand, pick and maybe review and refine your family tree and maybe re-engineer yourself in a way that you're not caught up, you're not blocked, you're able to move forward. You can imagine if you knew your family tree when you were a teenager, there are many things maybe you could have avoided because you are now aware. The other place you can go for help is your spiritual leader, whether you are a Christian, you could be a Muslim, you could be a Hindu, you could be a Buddhist, whichever religion you belong to. And uh, going to a spiritual leader doesn't necessarily mean, again, the religious leaders, because there are some practices like when we talk about mindful self-compassion, is a very spiritual practice. It's a practice that speaks to your soul. It's a practice that speaks to your being, that sense of humanity. that part of you that is so human, that I believe the world has failed to know how to touch it. And that is why mindfulness and mindful self-compassion are becoming very great, I would say, solutions to human suffering. They are practices that can make you enlarge your soul, your heart, and in turn your mind and your body to accommodate, to accept, and to extend compassion to self, to others, and to the whole world. And especially if you have been caught up in very painful family of origin, your family trees, multi-generational processes that are very, very painful. Self-compassion is a practice that teaches you to self-care as you care for others. Some of the pain you have gone through is unimaginable. Some of the pain you have gone through probably may not be reversed because there's damage, there could have been pain that may have been caused to you when you were a child, when you were a teenager, when you were a young adult, and maybe even most recent. That may not be corrected. And all you may know is that it's common humanity for human beings to suffer. It is common humanity for people to experience multi-generational processes, the pain of not being able to fight so easily. But when you do like this, you tell yourself, it's human, it's common humanity. I am still a beautiful person, and I can treat myself with all kindness, and I can share that kindness to the world. I will not run away from the suffering I have experienced from the effects of multi-generational curses or processes. I will love me. I will appreciate me. I will change me. I will live in that river, in that ocean of self-kindness. If I give it to other people, I want to give it to myself in abundance. And so as we continue with the discussions, just like majority of you asked me whether I can do this in English, it's even easier, far much easier. But I have discovered, especially when we really want to validate our cultural heritage, one of the ways you can reach people who have not been to school and learned Swahili and English, our official national languages, they can also benefit from mother tongue. And it's my sincere hope and belief that other counselors elsewhere are also trying to use their mother tongue to help their own communities understand matters mental health, and above all, change and transform future generations. This has been your host, Dr. Susan Gitau. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do at Dr. Susan Gitau. Like and share so that we can all be blessed together. Thank you and God bless. Asante. I would like you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dr. Susan Gitau, where you will access mental health tips every week, every month, every year. Thank you.